You need to move that eyesore 20 feet inland, or we'll have it demolished. That's what Veronica Ashworth, HOA President, Pine Lake Royalty, in a pink blazer screamed at me from her golf cart right at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. I wish I was making that up. She's out there, pearls shining in the morning sun, pointing at my old cabin like it's radioactive waste. And I'm standing there with a coffee I haven't even sipped, wondering if this is some kind of prank or maybe just a really bad welcome committee. But man, if Veronica was expecting me to roll over, she picked the wrong guy, because what she didn't know was that I'd just spent 3 sleepless nights digging through dusty county records, following a cryptic note the last owner left behind. And let me tell you, what I found didn't just flip Veronica's world upside down, it set the entire neighborhood on fire. My name's Garrett Blackstone, and this is how one HOA demand turned into the biggest property scandal Pine Lake County ever saw. A story about fraud, corruption, and theft, hiding behind all those perfect lawns and those little white mailboxes that make the place look so friendly. You know what's funny? 6 months ago, I was running double shifts as a paramedic up in Detroit, barely seeing my own apartment, when I got this call out of nowhere from a lawyer talking in that formal, life-changing tone lawyers save for funerals and lotteries. He tells me I just inherited a lakefront cabin from a guy named Silas Thornfield. I barely even recognized the name. Turns out I'd saved his neighbor's life on a call years back, Mrs. Henderson, 80 years old. Heart stopped in her rose garden. I did CPR for 12 minutes straight. Didn't know Silas was the guy pacing his porch, watching the whole thing like it was the end of the world. Well, Silas remembered. Left me a deed, some keys, and a handwritten note that sounded like some old man's rambling. The land remembers what people forget. Check the old maps. Trust nothing built after 1953. Seemed crazy at the time. I had no idea that one line was about to blow up my entire life. First time I saw the cabin, I swear it felt like stepping into another universe. Cedar beams turned silver by the sun, a fireplace big enough to roast a bear, a porch wrapping around the whole thing so you could watch the lake catch fire every sunrise. Dock stretching out over water so clear you could count the fish. I quit my job on the spot. 15 years in emergency rooms, a million bureaucratic forms, I'd had enough. That cabin was peace. For a while, it was everything. If you've ever dreamed about ditching city life for a place on the water, you get it right. Coffee on the dock, books on the porch, loons calling at night, man, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. The neighbors seemed decent, if a little distant, but you know how small towns are polite, but you always feel like they're sizing you up. Didn't think much of it. Figured I was the outsider, just needed time. But there were signs, conversations shutting down. When I walked by, people eyeing my cabin like it was some kind of violation. Lots of mentions of the Willowbrook Estates HOA, always in that tone people use when talking about termites or taxes. I'd heard rumors about their rules: no garden gnomes, grass trimmed to military standards, fines for anything that made the place look different. But here's the thing, my cabin was older than the subdivision, free and clear, inherited straight from Silas with paperwork solid as a rock. I thought I was untouchable. Famous last words, right? 94 days. That's how long it took before a certified letter showed up, official Willowbrook HOA letterhead, every sentence sounding like a threat in a 3-piece suit. It said my cabin was violating setback requirements, encroaching on community waterfront, move it 20 feet back, or pay $500 a day in fines. Signed by Veronica Ashworth and her whole merry band of board members. I laughed at first. This place had been standing right there for decades. But the more I read, the more it sank in. These folks weren't asking. They'd made up their minds, and they had the power to make my life miserable. So I called the HOA, thinking, maybe it's a clerical mistake. 3 phone transfers later, I get the compliance officer voice like he practices saying no in the mirror. I explained nicely at first that my cabin's been here forever, deeds clear, and their survey must be wrong. He just keeps repeating, our records show encroachment like a robot. He tells me I can file a formal appeal, but the fines won't stop while they review my case. That's when the anger kicked in. I didn't spend 15 years patching up strangers just to get bullied off my own land by a bunch of weekend warriors with a measuring tape. That night, I spread Silas's documents out across the kitchen table. Deeds, old surveys, maps, even photos showing the cabin sitting in the same spot through snow, rain, 4th of July fireworks. But something didn't add up. Silas's deed from 1987 didn't match the subdivision map the HOA was waving around. Big differences, not just little errors. And Silas had left notes everywhere. County map doesn't match plat. Check the original watershed survey. Property lines changed without notice. Suddenly, his warning trust, nothing built after 1953, didn't sound so crazy. So next morning, I head to the Pine Lake County Courthouse. The clerk, Mrs. Patterson, probably old enough to remember Eisenhower, pulls out a file that's practically falling apart. Pine Lake Watershed, 1953. She says, "Sit down for this one, honey." The original survey shows 15 acres, one continuous lot, all owned by the Thornfield family. No subdivisions, no separate parcels, no HOA. Every house, every lawn, even Veronica's McMansion, technically it's all built on land that belonged to Silas and now to me. No record of sale, no subdivision approval, just poof, someone built a neighborhood right on top of someone else's property and hoped nobody would notice. I asked Mrs. Patterson how this could happen. She sighs, shakes her head. Sometimes paperwork gets lost, sometimes folks with money make problems disappear. But the more we dig, the more I see this wasn't an accident. It was a cover-up. Driving home, I couldn't help but stare at all those houses, the playgrounds, the lake, realizing every bit of it was standing on stolen land. So I call Veronica. Calm as I can manage, I say, "We need to talk. What I found in county records changes everything." She cuts me off full queen mode. "If this is about your cabin, I stop her. It's about your whole neighborhood being built on my land." Dead silence. I tell her, "Meet me at the courthouse tomorrow. Bring your lawyer, bring your surveyor. You're going to want to see this for yourself." The next morning, it's me, Veronica, her fancy lawyer, a surveyor who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, and Mrs. Patterson rolling out maps and documents like it's a murder trial. I lay it all out, original survey, no subdivision, no sale, just decades of silent theft. The surveyor double checks, everything goes pale. Veronica's lawyer is suddenly real quiet. Finally, Mrs. Patterson just says it. "This isn't a mistake, this is fraud." And with that, the whole show falls apart. Veronica's face. She's not angry anymore, she's scared. "This will destroy 47 families, she whispers. I look her dead in the eye. "You tried to destroy me first. I didn't start this fight, but I'm not backing down." I walk out with enough evidence to bring the whole crooked house down. A few days of tense silence follow until I come home one night and my front door is cracked open. That's never good. I go inside and the place is alive with crickets, literally hundreds crawling everywhere inside the cupboards, hopping across the floor. Someone dumped containers of live crickets all through my house. Psychological warfare, Pine Lake style. I find the empty cricket box near the window, see a muddy footprint by the back door, and realize I've got security cameras rolling out back. I check the footage. Sure enough, Veronica herself, gardening gloves on, picking my lock like she's done it before, carrying 2 big bags into my house. 20 minutes later, she's gone. But the damage is done. I call the sheriff. Deputy Martinez shows up, watches the tape with me. He's seen plenty of neighborhood squabbles, but even he looks impressed. "We need to arrest her," he says. But I ask for a minute. "Let me call her first." So I do put her on speaker, deputy, listening in. "Veronica, someone broke into my cabin today and released crickets everywhere. Any idea who'd do that?" She fakes concern. "Probably teenagers." I cut her off. "I've got you on camera." Click, she hangs up, and I know this war just got personal. "Let me ask you, what would you do if your neighbor's house was built on your land? Would you ask them to move? Take a payoff? And if that same neighbor broke in and unleashed a biblical plague of crickets, what's your next move? Tell me below." Because what happened next, honestly, I'm still shaking my head over. The crickets were just Veronica's opening shot. Suddenly, trucks start parking outside at night, faces I don't recognize, the same cars following me to town. She even calls my old boss in Detroit, tries to ruin my career. But I've got evidence, documents, video, the whole paper trail, and with Sarah Montgomery, my new attorney, we start building a federal fraud case. Turns out the whole Willowbrook subdivision was built after a county official, Donald Hayes, took bribes from Veronica's family to lose the original deed and fake a subdivision plat. The land was never for sale, never subdivided, never supposed to have houses on it at all. I take it public restraining orders, press coverage, the FBI getting involved. Veronica, meanwhile, is rallying the neighborhood, trying to turn everyone against me. She schedules a big HOA meeting, media, lawyers, the whole circus. She tries to paint me as the villain, but then I roll out the original surveys, the payment records, and the clincher video of her breaking into my home. Sarah stands up and drops the bomb. Your family bribed a county official. We have proof. The room explodes. People shouting, crying neighbors, realizing their mortgages and lives are tangled in a fraud they never imagined. Veronica melts down, sobbing that I'm destroying everything. Your family destroyed itself by building on stolen land, I tell her. I'm just the one who found out. The aftermath, FBI raids county reforms, people finally free from Veronica's iron-fisted HOA. I could have had every house torn down, could have evicted the whole neighborhood. Instead, I offered 99-year leases for $1 a year on 2 conditions. The HOA is dead forever, and any future neighborhood decisions are public and democratic. Property values actually go up. The corrupt officials' jail time. Veronica, 18 months for trespassing and obstruction, plus 5 years probation. Her family's company gone. These days, I still sit on my porch, coffee in hand, Silas's old note on my lap. The cabin never moved. It's still where it's always been, where it belongs. Sometimes neighbors thank me, sometimes they avoid me. Either way, the truth's out, the land remembers, and nobody's ever bullying me or anyone else off this property again. So next time someone tells you to move your house, check those old maps. Trust your gut and never let a bully write your story. If you made it this far, hit like, subscribe, and drop your take in the comments. Would you forgive your neighbors or demand every inch of justice? Because around here, sometimes the only way to fix a crooked system is to shine a little daylight on it and wait for the truth to do the rest.